Experts warn that low-cost summer camps in China, including programs targeting Taiwanese students, are being used to spread pro-unification propaganda. Organizations like China Youth International are offering all-inclusive 7-day travel packages for as little as $125, excluding flight and visa costs. Data from Taiwan's Control Yuan shows student exchange trips to China surged after the pandemic, with Beijing increasingly targeting elementary and junior high schoolers. Participation among this age group jumped from a few dozen in 2022 to over 2,000 last year. The number of accompanying teachers nearly doubled to almost 1,300. The watchdog warns that many trips bypass school registration, leaving younger students vulnerable to political coercion. For more on these travel programs to China, I spoke to David Bandurski, Executive Director of the China Media Project, a research initiative that analyzes China's media and communication strategies. So when Beijing hosts school groups and students on subsidized trips, what specific messages or narrative is the CCP actually trying to sell them?
Well, this is just a small part of a massive campaign, really on all fronts. So the student visits are just a part of it. So the basic messaging is pretty simple. It's pretty firm on this notion of that it has sovereignty over Taiwan and so on. So this is a way of cultivating relations and trying to bring the next generation of Taiwanese over to China's side, to let them see the benefits of Chinese developments. But this is a very one-sided trip in terms of the content. There's not going to be any exchange with the other side of what it's like to be Taiwanese or the Taiwanese side of things. It's really basically about letting this young generation of Taiwanese see the benefits of what China hopes and has insisted will be a unification at some point in the future.
The Control Yuan noted a sharp jump in the number of trips for younger students from Taiwan. So from a propaganda standpoint, why target elementary schoolers? How do you pitch peaceful integration to a 10-year-old student?
Young and old, I think China's interested in anybody who's useful. And of course, if you're young and there's a certain level of naivety toward the messaging, so call it receptiveness. I think that's an aspect of it, but it's not limited to just young people. These trips, aside from this kind of future forward thinking about how they can plan and accommodate the ideas of the next generation, these are very useful in terms of propaganda. So if you look, you will see a lot of coverage around them coming out of Sichuan official media, out of their new international communication centers they have. So these are always an opportunity to create content that is then turned around, including on Taiwan through social media channels, to say, hey, look at this engagement. Look at the Taiwanese young students witnessing the glorious development of China, the big buildings, the architecture, the development, and so on.
And do we know to what extent that these kind of digital propaganda campaigns are successful? Is there any data on that?
It's really hard to know. But the important thing, I think, to know is that strategically, China may have its own ways of measuring this impact, but it doesn't really know, right? So it's just a huge project. So in a way, all we need to do is be aware that China has this conviction, of changing, and then it's putting a lot of resources toward it. I think broadly speaking, it's good that this becomes an issue that people pay attention to in Taiwan without sort of drawing close and being drawn into these kind of one-sided exchanges. It would be great to see programs in Taiwan that encourage literacy about China's political system and so on.
That was David Bandurski from the China Media Project.